Hello students, welcome back. I hope you must be keeping well. In this session, we will be discussing the properties of conjugate, modulus and argument of a complex number. And as I have already told you, these properties are extremely important. They might not be asked directly in your exams, but they are utilized in questions. So, unless and until you are thorough with the properties, you might not be able to attempt questions very easily. So, we will be first of all discussing the properties of conjugate. We shall also discuss the examples based on them, and then we will be switching to the properties of modulus and argument. Let's begin.
So now, as we have already discussed the concepts of modulus, argument of a complex number, now we will be discussing the various properties, the important properties of modulus, conjugate and argument of complex numbers, right? So first of all, we have, see, these properties are quite simple, but they are extremely important because they are used in questions. So unless and until you know these properties, you won't be able to attempt the questions easily. So first of all, the first property says that Z conjugate is equal to Z itself. That means if you take the conjugate of a complex number and you take the conjugate of that complex number, then that will be the complex number itself. So this is quite obvious, you can even prove it also. You can take some complex number Z to be equal to x plus iy and you can try to prove this, right? Next one says modulus of Z is equal to modulus of Z conjugate. This is also quite obvious because from the definition of modulus we know that modulus of Z is equal to under root of x square plus y square, and therefore modulus of Z bar is x minus iy if Z is x plus iy. So modulus of Z bar would also be equal to under root of x square plus y square, and therefore both of these are same. Okay, the next thing is Z plus Z conjugate is twice of real Z. This we have already discussed. You can take Z equal to x plus iy, and if you add up the complex number Z to Z conjugate, that will be twice of real Z. Similarly, Z minus Z bar is equal to 2 times iota imaginary Z. Okay, then if Z is purely real, then Z is equal to Z bar, that is Z conjugate. This is quite obvious. If you have Z as x plus iy and it's saying Z is purely real, that means y is 0. That means Z becomes only x, and therefore if you take its conjugate, it is x itself. So Z is equal to Z conjugate. Similarly, if Z is purely imaginary, then Z would be equal to minus of Z conjugate. And then Z into Z conjugate is modulus of Z whole square is equal to modulus of Z bar whole square. So this is also quite obvious, I suppose. Then we have conjugate of Z1 minus Z2 is Z1 conjugate minus Z2 conjugate. You can try to solve out these properties. Then Z1 plus Z2 whole conjugate is equal to Z1 conjugate plus Z2 conjugate. Okay, then Z1 Z2 whole conjugate is equal to Z1 conjugate into Z2 conjugate, and this is true for n numbers. We can have Z1 Z2 Zn whole conjugate is equal to Z1 conjugate into Z2 conjugate and so on Zn conjugate. Then Zn conjugate is equal to Z conjugate raised to the power n. This is also quite obvious. Similarly, Z1 by Z2 conjugate is equal to Z1 conjugate. This shouldn't be there. It's if I have Z1 by Z2 conjugate, this is equal to Z1 conjugate by Z2 conjugate, right? And if f of x plus iy is a plus ib, then f of x minus iy would be a minus ib. Okay, now we have the properties of modulus of complex numbers. First of all, we have modulus of z is 0 will imply z is 0 plus 0i, that is z is 0. This is also quite obvious because we have seen that modulus of z is under root of x square plus y square if z is x plus iy. So when can modulus of z be 0? Only provided x and y both are zeros. Unless and until both x and y are zeros, we cannot have the sum of squares of x and y to be 0. So this means that z has to be 0. So modulus of z is minus modulus of minus z, which is equal to modulus of z conjugate, which is equal to modulus of iota z. Then minus modulus of z is less than equal to real z, is less than equal to modulus of z, and minus of modulus of z is less than equal to imaginary z is less than equal to modulus of z. Then we have z bar is equal to modulus of z square. This is an important property which is normally used in questions. Then it says if z is unimodular, that means if modulus of z is 1, then z bar will become 1 by z. See, if we have assumed if z bar, this is z bar is modulus of z square, and I am saying z is unimodular, that means modulus of z is 1, then we'll have z bar would be 1, and therefore z would become 1 by z bar, or you can say z bar is equal to 1 by z. Now modulus of z1 z2 is modulus z1 into modulus z2. This is also used in questions normally. Modulus of z raised to n is equal to modulus z whole to the power n, and then modulus of z1 by z2 is modulus z1 by modulus z2, provided obviously z2 should be non-zero. Then these are important properties. We have modulus of z1 plus z2 whole square plus modulus of z1 minus z2 square is equal to twice modulus of z1 square plus modulus of z2 square. In fact, you can also term it as, this property is basically saying sum of squares of diagonals. This side says sum of squares of diagonals of a parallelogram is equal to sum of squares of its 4 sides, right? This property is basically stating this, that sum of squares of diagonals of a parallelogram is equal to sum of squares of its 4 sides. Okay, then we have the triangle inequalities, which says modulus of mod z1 minus mod z2 is less than equal to modulus of z1 plus minus z2, which is further less than equal to mod z1 plus mod z2. Now let us discuss some examples based on this. Consider two pairs of non-zero conjugate complex numbers z1, z2 and z3, z4. Find the value of argument of z1 by z3 plus argument of z2 by z4. Okay, so how will we solve out this? We are just required to find out the argument of z1 by z3 plus argument of z2 by z4. Using the properties that we have just now discussed, we can write it as argument of z1 z2 by z3 z4. And again, it's given that these are conjugate complex numbers. Pairs are conjugate complex numbers, which means z2 is z1 bar and z4 is z3 bar. So I'll be using these properties, these given things, and I can write it as mod z1 square by mod z3 square. How do I get this? Since z2 is z1 bar, so this becomes z1 z1 bar, and z1 z1 bar can be written as modulus of z1 square, and similarly z3 z3 bar can be written as modulus of z3 square. So finally we are required to find out the argument of modulus z1 square by modulus of z3 square, and this is equal to 0. How? Since the argument of a positive real number is 0. See, these are positive real numbers, mod z1 square by mod z3 square, and we are required to find out the argument of a positive real number, and therefore the argument becomes 0. So, see, this question was quite simple. It was a question of a few seconds, provided you are well versed with the properties of conjugate, modulus, argument. All these properties must be clear to you. The next question that we have is, find the modulus and principal argument of the complex number z equal to 1 plus I, 1 minus root 3I, minus 2 minus 2I, I 3. So you are required to find out the modulus and principal argument of this number, which is a product of these complex numbers. This complex number, we have 5 complex numbers, right? Okay, one more thing here. 3 is also a complex number. Just notice this thing. 3i minus 2i, all of these are complex numbers. How is this a complex number? Because 3 can be written as 3 plus 0i. So we have a real part and an imaginary part. It becomes a complex number. It is purely real. That is a separate thing, but it is a complex number, right? So first of all, we'll be finding the principal argument, and principal argument concept must be clear to you by now. We have already discussed. So first of all, we'll find out the amplitude of 1 plus I. Okay, so how do we find out? First of all, first step is find out alpha, which is tan inverse modulus of b by modulus of a, which is tan inverse mod b 1 by 1, which is pi by 4. So now next thing is just try to check out in which quadrant does the complex number lie. Now z, or you can write 1 plus I, lies in first quadrant, obviously, because a and b both are positive. So amplitude is equal to theta is equal to alpha, which is pi by 4. So this is what I get. Next I try to find out amplitude of 1 minus root 3i, right? So now I have to find out the amplitude of 1 minus root 3i. Again, first of all, find out alpha, which is tan inverse of modulus of b by modulus of a, which is root 3 by 1, which is tan inverse root 3, which is again pi by 3. So see, this is quite simple, right? So now next thing, again we have to check out in which quadrant does the complex number lie, and therefore now a is positive but b is negative, so it lies in fourth quadrant. So amplitude is equal to amplitude of 1 minus root 3i, right? Amplitude would be equal to minus of pi by 3. Next, amplitude of minus 2 minus 2i. So for this, again alpha is tan inverse of minus 2 by minus 2, that's 1, again pi by 4, and further it lies in third quadrant. And therefore amplitude would be equal, amplitude of minus 2 minus 2i, right? So amplitude of minus 2 minus 2i would be equal to theta would be equal to minus of pi minus alpha, which is equal to minus pi by 4. Pi minus pi by 4 becomes 3 pi by 4, so we have it as minus 3 pi by 4. Next, amplitude of I, this is simple, it will be 90, and amplitude of 3 would be 0. By now you must have understood amplitude of I is, see, I lies on this axis and therefore the angle that it makes with the positive real axis is 90, and 3 lies on this axis, so angle that it makes with the positive real axis is 0, so amplitude becomes 0. Okay, so finally the amplitude of z would be equal to the sum of the individual amplitudes of all these complex numbers. So we have amplitude of 1 plus I is pi by 4, plus amplitude of 1 minus root 3i we have obtained is minus of pi by 3, plus amplitude of minus 2 minus 2i is minus 3 pi by 4, plus we have pi by 2 plus 0, right? So this is what we have obtained, pi by 4 minus pi by 3 minus 3 pi by 4 plus pi by 2 plus 0, that finally becomes minus of pi by 3, right? And next we were required to find out the modulus. Modulus is quite simple, you can directly find out the modulus. Modulus of z would be equal to modulus of 1 plus I into modulus of 1 minus root 3i into modulus of minus 2 minus 2i into modulus of I into modulus of 3. So this is under root of 1 plus 1, that's 2, under root of 1 plus under root 1 square plus under root 3 square, that becomes 4, that is 2. Okay, we'll write down under root 4, Then we have under root of 2 square, that's 4, plus under root of 2 square, that's 4. 4 plus 4 becomes under root 8. Then I have under root of 1 square, that's 1. Under root of 3 square, that's 3. So I finally have under root 2 into 2 into 2 root 2 into 3. That becomes 24. So this is the required modulus. So see, this question was also quite simple. We have just utilized the property of modulus and arguments, that whenever you have a complex number as a product of some individual complex numbers, in order to find out the amplitude, you can find out the individual amplitudes and finally sum up all those individual amplitudes. And similarly, in case of modulus, you can just multiply the individual modulus.
Well, I hope you must have understood the properties of conjugate, modulus and argument. And again I am repeating, these concepts are extremely important from examination point of view.